Hello there. I made some pretty things with some IOD Summer release stamps and some transfers. Can't wait to share them with you. I'm Whitney with Crafty Thoughts and Whatnots. Let's jump into the craft room. Now, we're going to start with this metal plaque. I'm going to use two of these in this video, and I'm super proud of myself because I purchased these so long ago. Anyways, so, and then also this book. Both of this book and this metal plaque here, they're from Dollar Tree. So I'm saving a book from a landfill, honestly, or a trash heap. So anyways, if you're a book reader or you like to decorate with books, I've seen a lot of people do some amazing things with books. And I just felt like this needed a little bit of a decoration. So I'm going to take the plaque and I'm going to wrap it around our book. Now, I like this book only because it's basically pretty much done for me. I'm not going to paint it. I'm going to distress it a little bit because, that's just my jam. I can't help but do that. But for this one, I'm going to just bend the plaque around. Now, I did have a little bit of problem on the second bend, so I did kind of have to coerce it. And then basically with the help of, hammers and tacks and things, I got it. I won, domino. So I'm just going to wrap it around the book. Now, I'm not going to paint the book because the book's already a really pretty gray color. But obviously, I'm going to use my crocodile here. This is a scrapbooking tool if you want to take a peek at one. There is one linked in my Amazon shop below in the description in the pinned comment. But we're going to use this punch side of it. They have these punch holes on them that work with metal and like chipboard and things like that. It puts a really great hole on it because, when you buy stuff from Dollar Tree that you don't want to have a hole in it, always has a hole in it. Then you got to fill it. And then the stuff that you want to have a hole in it doesn't, which is weird. But anyways, so well, want this to stay on the book a little bit more than your average, because hot glue is not going to work with metal. So I put some E6000 in a couple spots. Guaranteed it looks a little haphazard because it was. Let's put it this way. I'm just going to kind of spread it out with a little craft stick here. But on the back side, I did put it on one of the ridges. It's a corrugated metal, right? So it's only going to touch in a few spots. I just wanted to at least get some sort of adhesion along with it because I'm going to use some furniture tacks to tack this down in the corners. I got these right here from Amazon. They're super new to me and I love every second of them. And I end up using them in both of my projects today. So I'm going to tack them down. That's why we put holes here in the corners. So I didn't want it to just depend on only the tacks because we are just going to hammer them into the book itself. Now, if they don't go all the way through the book on both sides, but they go in deep enough, but the book does still kind of stay open because that metal, as thin as you thought it would be, and as in, I also wipe off some of that E6000 there. I'm going to put two tacks in the front, two tacks in the back. That's why we put a hole in each corner of our little metal plaque there. And it does a great job of holding them in, but we're going to have to secure the book closed on the ends. But now what I'm going to do is my first little goodie here is an Iron Orchid design. It's called Menagerie. It's a transfer set from the 2025 release that just came out for summer. It has all these amazing, you get 8 pages of all this. I'm going to use it again because I want to use these bird cages. They're so pretty. But what I picked out here is this just little 3 set here of flowers. And then I also add another one down at the bottom. But because it's a corrugated metal, I've never put a transfer on a curved or uneven surface before. I usually do. I've done things that are kind of little bowed, wood can be bowed or, those things. But for this corrugated, it is specifically, a ripple effect here. So this is my first try. I did great. And of course, IOD transfers are top quality. So they are worth every penny you pay for them. I had absolutely no problem. So I'm just kind of smoothing them down into the low parts. I'm going from right to left, just to make sure that I'm getting everything put in the way I need it to. And again, this pattern or the shape of the metal did not take away from the transfer itself. You can still see it properly. I was worried that maybe it might cause, I'm not sure, like the ripple effect might not look right. I'm not sure if that makes any sense, but I was worried for no reasons, put that way, because, it's in my chemical makeup as a woman to worry about things that don't need to be worried about. So that's what you have to do. That's one of the ingredients in crafting. Worry about your project all the way up until the end when it turns out amazing and you had nothing to worry about. That's part of those, that's a must-have. It's a prerequisite for crafting, yeah? After I put that on there, you see me rubbing with the top sheet there. That's called burnishing. You're just making sure you have an entire contact with the transfer and its surface. Now this extra one I took out of the same pack, obviously, and I'm going to cut the little branch off of one side and apply it to 2 different spots. So I'm going to take this one piece out of the transfer book and I'm going to apply it in 2 sections. This one here I felt looked really great at the bottom, and then that extra little branch we're going to put at the top closer to that pink flower up there. But also with the same instance, we're going to just put the transfer on, rub it with the little stylus tool here, and then we're going to burnish it with the top sheet. Make sure we have a good spot. And then here's where I'm just going to add on these leaves. Now see, it also matches from the top to the bottom, so it kind of ties in the pieces together. It doesn't look like I just kind of threw two things together, but don't be afraid to layer your transfers. I will layer things. I will put things together on top, beside, bundle of them. I think it all looks natural. It looks so pretty. What do you think? Tell me your thoughts about this so far. I mean, you could stop here, but you know I'm not gonna. But you know, you can. What we're gonna do next is we are going to take our sanding, any type of sanding block. So I just wanted to add some distress to it here. I wanted her to be a little rustic because that's my thing. I like distressing things. And so what I'm going to do is also next, after we take the sanding sheet to it, I'm just going to take some white acrylic paint, because the binding on the book started to bug me. At first I thought it wouldn't bother me that a few pieces of the book title and the decoration were showing, but then it was. And I was like, okay, I can freehand it. Yeah, no, I couldn't. So I just got some masking tape out. I'm going to put that down on all four sides, so front and back, and we're just going to take that acrylic paint and basically put a nice little crisp slice of white paint going down the side. So it makes it look like maybe the book binding was already done this way. Of course, we know it wasn't, and you know I'm going to distress it as well. Now here's the satisfying part. We're going to peel all this tape off. Oh, look how pretty. Now I thought I would stop there too, but yeah, I mean, I'm not going to distress as far as, we're still going to leave these crisp lines because this was just the easy part of pulling the tape off. But I am going to take a chip brush, and then with extra paint, I am going to just distress around the edges of the book, the tops of the edges as well, so that when you're looking at it, you can see that from the back and the sides. And then now I'm going to take some clear wax, and we are going to seal the top of our, yeah, obviously, I'm showing you how I did that. I did obviously better than that. I lost the footage of it, so that's not how you put wax on, just FYI. But now you can actually watch me put some dark wax on, because that was what the purpose is. Now I'm going to dark wax the book itself around the edges, but mainly I wanted to put some of it on the pages, the book pages. I wanted it to look weathered and old, but you know, we've got all this distressing around the outside, but then the pages in the middle are all this crisp white. So basically I'm just taking what's left in my brush here, because you can see at the top right there, the jar's not open. It's just what's left in my brush from the project. I put some dark wax around the edges, but mainly on those book pages too. Now we're going to secure our book closed because it pops open because of the metal plaque there. So I'm just finding the center of my book, and I'm going to put another one of these furniture tacks right here on either side. So I'm putting one on the front and one on the back. I'm going to use these as my anchors because I'm going to take some jute twine and we're going to put a cute little tie around it. So there was the one on the back. We're going to put one on the front. Now I didn't tap them all the way in. We're going to leave a little bit of a gap, top, front and back. And we're going to take this very, very, very tiny, I mean, I'm running out tomorrow, little spool here of jute twine, which I will continue to use in probably every single one of my videos. So if jute's not your thing, that's fine because it's mine. So, and this is what I want to do. Now, I'm just going to take it and wrap it around twice. I want it very simple because it's going to look like sometimes you see a leather tied on a journal or a book. That's what I was going for, but basically I'm just going for decoration on top of the simpleness, and then on top of also the functionality of helping me keep the book closed. So now I'm typing them all the way in after I got the jute wrapped around them. I'm going to tap those tacks in all the way so it's not coming out. I've made a separate finger bowl, apparently off camera as well, along with the painting that I did. Sorry about that. But I do have a separate finger bowl tutorial linked in my description below if you want to take a peek at it. And I'm just going to glue this pretty little girl right to the top. Then I realized, hold on. Let me cut the tail off. Make this pretty as well. So I got a couple double tails here. I'm going to take it back off, which basically that's just heating it back up with your heat gun, and you're reactivating the hot glue, and then it just pops right back off. And I'm going to take a little bit of cotton ribbon that I got from Amazon. This is just a remnant piece from my last project when I just made that last honey video, the honeybee video. So this is where it's coming from. This is really just a remnant. Now the glue is still wet or tacky from me heating it up to take the bow off. I am just laying that right in the center there and squishing it. I'm just gathering it and squishing it into the glue. I'm going to add a little bit more glue because I needed more than what was there. and I'm just putting the ripples right in the middle. So I'm kind of making it look like, you could say it looks like a flower, it looks like a bow. And then I'm going to put our jute bow right back on top of where it was originally. And I just wanted to add just a little bit more to it. Again, you could stop it many, many, many times before me, but I'm not going to. Now, I got these wood shapes from Dollar Tree a while back and I haven't been able to use them yet. So I saw them sitting there and I said, well, I'm going to try sticking one of these on either side, see what happens. For pure transparency here, I did have originally 2 of them that I used some dark wax on, but the dark wax ended up being too dark and I did not like it. So those went back in the bag and I will use them eventually at some point in the future, hopefully, maybe, who knows. And then I just got 2 fresh ones right out the bag. So these are little wooden shapes that have not been stained. They haven't been painted. They're just natural wood. And I felt like it added a cute little something to the bow. And that's all she wrote for this cute little DIY. So the transfer itself is the brand new release from IOD for the summer of 2025. And then you got your little book. It's a stand-up. It's a good shelf sitter. It's a good space filler. You could lay that flat on a tabletop or in a vignette. You could also put it inside of a tiered tray, for filler in the back that has some beautiful accents on it. But tell me your thoughts. What would you do? I love the way this turned out. And I also love the fact that this corrugated metal added so much more to the book than just, the basic little farmhouse, put the transfer on the book. I like the fact that the corrugated metal turned out so pretty. Okay, now our main event here. This is a very big chunk of wood. So I took myself over to Lowe's in my close to my home, and they won't cut wood for me. So I went over to Home Depot, and Home Depot said, yeah, sure, we'll cut wood for you, but you can have only 12-inch pieces, and only the first 2 are free, and you got to pay for them. I'm like, okay, fine, whatever. So just cut this as much as you can. I ended up getting an 11 by 11 piece-ish. It's 11-11-ish. Now I'm going to take my favorite wood stain. This is not actually, sorry, it's not a stain. This is a wood tint. This is not, I believe it's water-based. It does not smear. You don't have to have ventilation. It doesn't stink. It's beautiful, and it is the most beautiful color of walnut. It says it's color walnut. Everything I've used this on is gorgeous. And then when you add white wax to this or any other wax to this, it makes it even more just so pretty. So pretty. I don't know what kind of wood this is either, so don't ask, because, it's from a tree. That's about as good as you're going to get from me. I was like, whatever was on sale and that they would cut for me, I was like, yeah, I could make DIYs out of this. Now I got the stain around all the edges in the back. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to paint the front. So I'm just putting some masking tape around the edges just to make sure I keep a crisp line. And I don't want the paint to bleed out down the sides. So after I do that, I am just taking a random generic chalk paint. Don't worry about what brand it is. Just find some white paint. It doesn't have to be chalk paint either, just any kind of white paint. And what I'm doing is I'm going to water this down. After I get a good heat, I'm just going to water it down, spray it a few times with my water bottle here, and then wipe it off, because I want to use this more like a stain than more of a paint. So I do want a lot of that wood. You can see some of the wood grain popping through here. And then we take all of our tape off the edges and then take a peek at this, man. These crisp lines are so pretty. Make me so happy. Look, check it out. Oh, so pretty. There's some right here on the edges. I am going to clean that up. It's not DIY paint. DIY paint's clay-based, so it's reactivated with water and you can just rub it right off. So I did have to put a little bit of elbow grease on it, but not too much. Now, for this project, I have another one of those metal plaques, but this time it's in this copper color. And for some reason, this one had a film over it that I had to remove on both sides, which was odd. And this one already had holes in it. So they were not equals. the corrugated stainless steel ones didn't have a film and didn't have holes. This one's got a film and holes. So I had to take that off of both sides. We're going back to our same little menagerie stamp set or transfer set here. And this time I'm going to pull out one of these little pretty birds. See how pretty this little yellowy bird is? She's so nice. She's so pretty. Almost looks like a parakeet, yeah? We had a parakeet when I was little. Her name was Sweetie Pie. She couldn't do... she tweeted, but that's about it. But we had... she was yellow and green. Little yellow and green parakeet. This looks like a parakeet to me. I don't know if it is. Now, if you're a bird person, let me know. It's pretty close. It's not... I don't think parakeets have long tails like that. I can't remember. It's been many moons, guys. Many moons. I was born in the 80s. So it was when I was a kid. Now, after we get the bird down, I'm going to put this little accent white flowery thing that I got out of the same transfer pack. And we're doing this in the same exact pattern and way that we did on our first project on the front of the book. You just want to make sure that you're pushing them in from one side to the next into all the grooves. If you're using an uneven surface like this, that's like the best way I can explain to you is start from one side and go in the opposite direction just to make sure you're getting it in all the grooves so you don't have any bubbles. And then again, after we got everything put down and burnished, we're going to take our sanding block and just rough up those high edges. Now, we're going to take this stamp. This is also brand new from the collection. It's called Folk Story. It is a one-piece stamp. It is the prettiest pattern, though. It's got all kinds of florals and fruits and flowers and botanicals. And since this is the first time I'm using it, you want to season, what they call seasoning the stamp. So it's just taking a light grit sandpaper and going over the whole stamp. And it helps the ink adhere to your stamp. And now I'm going to use my favorite vintage photo. This is an archival ink I get off of Amazon. It's good for scrapbooking as well. It's photo safe, but it does dry fast, so it's also a good thing. And I'm going to ink up this whole stamp. Now, what I do here doesn't work out, and I'll show you exactly in 5 seconds why it doesn't, because I wasn't thinking properly. I'm inking up the entire stamp. This isn't the problem. This ink doesn't dry that quickly, so then I take the wood, I'm taking our board, it's all dry, and I'm putting the board on top of the stamp. Now, normally you'd think this would be fine. It would be, if your board was flat and even and straight, and most wood isn't, especially where I'm at. I'll see exactly what happened here. I pushed down with all my might and look what happened. Because the board has a concave to it. It's not an even board. So don't do what I did. Just, yeah, I tried to cut corners and I was like, well, you know what? This stamp is still inked up in the places it didn't actually touch the wood. So I'm just going to do it. I'm going to try my best to get it lined up. And I'm just going to place it back down because I had so much negative space that actually, or positive space, whatever. I had so much space that didn't get stamped. The likelihood of there being that big of a difference in like the edges not matching up around what did get stamped, I don't think would have made a difference. And you'll have to tell me exactly what you think here. I think I did a great job lining it up. I sure was happy after I was done. And also because of me putting the wood on top of it and you can't see through it, I have an edge there. Now I'm happy. Look how pretty. This is a gorgeous stamp. It's very, very, very botanical. There's little, I believe it looks like little pomegranates in it. It's just pretty. I can't wait to use this for fall too. I'll be using this for a while. So you see these two edges here. And that's, of course, the result of me putting the dang, piece of wood on top of the stamp instead of the stamp on the wood. So don't do that. Don't do that. You could try. If you want to make sure, for sure, you have an absolutely flat surface and a flat piece of wood, yeah, go for it. But I could have done better as far as lining this up. So now I'm just putting these edges down. Now for the first one here, I just tried to do the full edge one and just go from bottom to top. And you'll see me just put my finger all the way up the edge. I'll show you in a second. There you go. It gets the point across. It doesn't look bad 100%. I'm not exactly 100% happy with that edge. Now this bottom one here and the other side, what I did was I did it in pieces. That way I didn't have to worry about lining everything up straight. And then I could also just kind of press on what I wanted as far as I needed. And these two edges turned out great. You couldn't tell. It almost looks like it's a pattern piece. And that's what it was meant to look like one whole piece. And it's just, what my original plan was. It looks great. So again, I'm inking up the rest of the edges here. And I'm only just pushing down on the edge just where I want to make sure I get a little bit more pattern on the actual wood. We also, at some point, I'll show you, we're going to go around the edges with a distressing ink. We're going to take the same ink and a little finger dauber, and we're going to distress around the edge and the inside. And so some of this won't even be apparent. I just wanted there to be the pattern underneath it because, again, the distress I put around the edge is not 100%. It's not opaque at all, so you are going to see a lot of these details. But take a look. You see that bottom edge there? She's so pretty. And the top edge, too. You can't really tell on these ones that it was a kind of little bit of a hiccup there. But I love this. I love how it turns out. Now here I'm going to take a darker color. This is the same archival ink, but we're going to use ground espresso this time. The previous one we just used was called Vintage Photo, and this is called ground espresso. And then I'm going to take these little finger dauber here's that I get from Amazon also. And I'm going to take that, load up the little finger dauber with the ground espresso, and I'm going to go around the edges of the wood to add like a vintage photo, like the name of that ink, to add a vintage look to the edge of a lot of these projects. It's a very popular thing to do in scrapbooking. but I like doing it in a lot of different, my DIYs, a lot of wood projects, and anything that I can actually get my little grubby fingers on that I can distress it. I try to do this around the edges. It adds almost like a weathered, burnt look that's just very classic to me. Very farmhouse, very, very just makes me happy. Now I'm going to take our little piece here where I intend to place it down, and I'm going to add more distressing around the edges, little spots here where things look like they've been worn and rubbed and, I don't know, I'd say the burnt look, or let's say set on fire, but in a good way. Not a tragic way. Now we're going to secure down our metal piece the same way. We're going to use these cute little furniture tacks. They're like a bronzish, darkish. They're antique bronze. Yeah, they're antiqued. Nice dark color on them. And here I'm going to just make sure I got my plaque even, and then I'm going to tape it down just to make sure it doesn't move. The holes that we didn't make these holes. We made holes on the other one. This one came with the holes, but the holes there obviously have a bigger circumference than the actual tack that we're putting in there. So there is still a chance that this can move around on you. So there's nothing worse than actually nailing something or screwing something all the way into your project and then realizing you have to take it apart because it moves on you because of those holes. So that's why I put the masking tape down. That was just in a fun layer of security, you could say, that would just try to save me a headache is all I was trying to do. It worked. So after that, I'm just going to stand it up there. Now, the Bennett part, I thought it was cute because that's the manufacturer from the wood cutter, I guess, or the lumber mill or wherever that came from. And they have little Christmas trees in it. So I left that pattern there. I wasn't going to try and sand it out either. It's just like, well, had I been thinking properly, I would have put it on the bottom. But again, wasn't really paying that much attention. Again, and I think it's still cute because it's a piece of wood that it's a big old chunk of wood. So let it keep its flavor. Let it keep its spice on it. You'll be able to see that when you put that in your displays. Now I'm taking 3 more transfers from their same little menagerie transfer there from IOD. I just cut out these three little flower buds that were more on the orangey side. I like the contrast with the yellow bird. And this top right flower is just speaking to me. I love that flower. I think it's so fluffy and pretty, but it needed to be on its own. So that's why she's up at the top right. Again, we're going to use the little rub-on transfer tool, put them down, burnish them with the top piece. Once they're all down, we're going to stare at them and tell them they're beautiful. And then we're going to go to my favorite. We're going to go back to my favorite, my little jute bows. I am going to use a little bit of suede on this one too. So I wanted to try to keep this simple because this bow is just going to be a small little accent off to the left side of our picture. And it's going to go on top of our little rub-on transfers that we put there. So I don't want to hide too much of it. So I burn off all the fuzzies after I make the 2 loop. I'm just holding about 2 loops on each side. So 4 loops of the jute. And then I'm going to do the same with this. This is a suede cord. I believe I bought this so many years ago it was a clearance item at a store that had a bunch of jewelry and beads. So this is probably intended to make necklaces with or something, but I couldn't help but make bows out of it. I have a bunch of jute and different colors of this suede cord, as well as other different kind of cording that I bought that's definitely meant for jewelry making, but would be so pretty in any kind of arrangement. So don't let that limit you. If you're going into a specific area of a store and they're like, oh, this is for this, you could always find a way to apply it to your current project. So again, I just made some simple bows, and then I'm going to head and cinch it in the middle with more jute, and then I used hot glue to secure it. I just wrapped it around the middle and then glued it with some hot glue. And then also for now, we're going to hot glue this down. Now, again, it's not going to stick to the metal, but we are going for the heat of the hot glue to get into those fibers of the transfer in the wood. And now I thought I was done, but we're going to take this cute little greenery pick from Michael's. I got just this past spring, and I'm just going to add just this one. Yeah, that doesn't work out. I'm just going to pick this off. I was confidently showing the camera too. Look, I'm only going to put this on here, make it very simple, very sweet. Yeah, no, here's our second one we're adding. And then Whitney can't help herself. So here's the third one we're going to add because I can't just stop at any point in time. I need to keep adding. And then, of course, I add a couple little pieces of extra leaves that I cut off of the stems themselves here and there, and I just tap them in. Now, here's a little third piece. This is the top white piece of another one that had more of the white on the actual little garden bush. I believe, I forget what it said. It said garden trellis or I don't remember what it said. This is a spring bush I got from Michael's just recently too. And then that's all she wrote. Now for me, that was pretty simple, right? But I still added a lot. And now don't forget to seal our transfers. We're going to use clear wax. Now, because I used the transfers outside, not just on the actual metal piece too, I'm going to seal the entire project. So I'm just kind of loading my wax brush up here with the clear wax. I'm going to wipe some of it off on the edges. Got a little bit too much on there. You don't want to put way too much down on your first swipe, just because then, you know, whatever you're putting on this medium is absorbent, and I didn't want it to pull it all in and make it look like a big grease spot. Obviously, the wax does cure. It just takes time. When it's 100% cured, it probably takes about a week. But usually I'm taking pictures maybe 10, 20, 30, 40 minutes after I've made a project, and the wax is not even have the same look. The paint's kind of lightened back up and everything looks great. Now you don't have to paint it, you don't have to seal it because of the paint we use, but you do need to seal the transfers. So I decided to just seal the entire project with clear wax. And I didn't distress with any dark wax. We already distressed with our archival ink. So tell me what you think. Look at the back of that. It's such a gorgeous picture. Just the most gorgeous brown. I love that walnut color. And also thinking on it now, you could put something on the opposite side so that if you have a particular style that you want to switch up, you could always just flip it around and then use the opposite side for your backer or your yarn. You know, yarn. I've been crocheting a lot, guys. I've been crocheting a lot in the YouTube off times, and let me tell you, stay tuned, because there's going to be a lot of stuff in my coffee shop coming up soon, all crochet. But anyways, I don't know why I had a misfire there, and the word yarn just popped out. Just random. And then this is so great. Yarn, yeah, it makes lots of sense. Yeah. Tell me your thoughts. I love how this turned out, and it has such a great weight to it also. Now, while I still have this beautiful little folk story stamp out while we were doing the larger project, I decided to get this going with a smaller project too, just a little added something. So we're still using the vintage photo. I'm just going to take one of these little white tags. These are a big, like a 12 count set of gift tags I got at Hobby Lobby. This was in their like party section. They're pretty little white tags that are already painted. They have a wood grain to them. So I picked a good spot in the stamp that I liked. It had a pomegranate. I believe it had a pomegranate in it, but I had a good little chunk of flowers and everything. And so what I did was I just inked up that middle piece of the stamp. And because again, how you should do it is put the stamp on top of your item, Whitney, just to make sure I got it right where I wanted it. And then we're going to push down and pull that sucker up and take a look at that beautiful, pretty print. I love stamps like this. This whole stamp is, you have so many options to do things. Obviously, if anything is smaller than this stamp, you don't have to worry about lining it up. So gorgeous. Now, same thing we did with our larger piece just before. We're going to take the darker ground espresso, and I'm going to take my little finger dauber, and I'm going to just kind of apply this in a almost like a scraping motion off of the sides. This is what's going to give me the same look that we did before, almost like a very vintagey old sepia type photograph, but also just in general, just to distress it. I'm also going to go up and down the edges there just to paint them more so you don't have a crisp white edge on the edge of that. So on the edge of the edge. Now after we're all dried up, we've got a pretty little base to work on, and we're going to take this transfer here. I found some plums. In fact, right here on the front of the page, there's those plums right there. Off the same little menagerie transfer. That's what we're working with this video. And I'm just going to place them on top of our stamped little tag here. And again, it's very classic with these patterns and these colors, and then also with the botanicals and the flowers. But I like the fact that along with the flowers and the bird cages and the birds and the flowers, and I already said flowers, they've added different fruit accents inside here. And different fruits always look so pretty, because that also makes it look very good, very easy to place that within your coffee table or in a kitchen arrangement. Now I've got this cute little decor piece. I got this at, I was going to say Hobby Lobby. You can see that was Dollar Tree. And we're going to take our DIY dark wax, and we are just going to wax this up. Now, you can use this the way it is and just tie your tag to this if you want to, but I didn't want to keep the tassel. So I'm just, as it's still together in its state that it comes in, I am just taking my dark wax and I am going up and down the beads as much and best as I can. I'm going to push those bristles in between, but not by too much, because I do want some of the natural pieces to come out. I want it to look like it's been rolling around in the dirt for a while, or it got pushed around on the floor. And then we can cut it apart and we'll take this and restring it. This obviously was too short and I couldn't get the tassel off and the knots undone with enough room and space to be able to tie it to this tag. So I'm going to take a fresh piece of jute and I'm going to feed both pieces, both ends through the hole on our tag. And then I'm going to feed those ends through the loop of the jute that we made here. And I believe this is called a lark's head knot, so that we can at least just kind of get that looped onto our little tag piece here. And then I'm going to start with just feeding all of the beads on. I am going to take every single one of them. I'm going to recreate the exact same thing that we just did, or that we just took apart, but just in my own way, with my own jute and no tassel. So you're not really losing anything here other than a piece of twine that was already cut too short to use for another project. So don't feel bad. I didn't. Not one bit. I'm going to put every single one of these beads back on here. And then once I get close to it, I'm going to show you. It's just feeding it on. Now you can leave it if you want to leave this like one of those tabletop displays where I think you call them like a beaded garland type thing. But I wanted to leave this as a hook. So you can still do the same thing where you could, drape this across a tiered tray display or even across a book or something like a box or greenery. But you can also hang this from a door handle. I love hanging things from door handles. I've done that for holidays. I've done that with Christmas themed items. I also love putting little buckets on door handles with little flower arrangements in them. Now again, yeah, if it's a high traffic area, you might not want to, or at least put a bell on it so that it'll drive you insane in a happy way. But this is, again, decorative pieces. You could also put these on cabinet pulls if you have maybe in the bathroom cabinets or in a decorative area for a laundry. I have my linen closet is actually cabinets in my hallway, so this would be really cute to hang off of the little drawer pulls that I put on those cabinet doors, those types of things. So you have the option to hang them. That's why I'm creating the loop. So as you can see, I talked through that entire bit. Sorry about that. I fed the jute twine back up through the first bead that we strung on there. And in order to do that, then I strung it up the second bead and then I tied a knot. So you have it tied in and around itself and it won't really come undone, and you have all your little loose ends are all hidden. Now I have another little piece of suede rope here that was left over from our bigger square project there. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take it and double it up and then tie a knot. So from there, I'm then going to cut the ends off. So we just have a kind of it's just a different feel. It's not an actual bow, but it's an alternative bow, let's put it that way. So I just basically tied a knot. So it looks like I have some bundled sorry, I use jute so much, that's all I say anymore. So we have some bundled suede cord that I think adds so much cuteness. Now also we're doing the same thing. I'm going to bundle up 2 strands of our jute. And I'm going to act as though I'm going to tie a bow, but what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of wrap it. Well, what are we going to do? How would you say what I just did? I just kind of, I made the loops in my hands, but we're not going to cinch it in the middle, and we're not going to put a tie around the middle of it either. I'm just going to glue all of these strands down to the top of the tag, because we're going to take that cute little suede knot that we made and we're going to glue it on top of that. And the knot's going to be big enough to cover the center, because if I had wrapped it and cinched it in the middle and then did all the bow thing, the classic bow with the cinch and then the knot, it would have been too thick to lay flat on top of our tag. So that's why I just kind of glued all these things down flat. And then we're going to trim off our little loose ends here. And then of course, don't forget to seal in the transfer, but on this instance I wanted the tag needs to match the beads. The beads are very distressed and the tag is not distressed at all. But the best part that happened that I wasn't expecting is that this tag, the way they're made, it has a very light texture to it, which I didn't notice. It shows up more here on the back when I show you as I'm putting this dark wax on. This dark wax went right into the grain of this wood tag, and it just looks so pretty. And it did that on the front too. I just don't know if you're able to see it so well on camera as it does, as it looks this way in person. But it is so pretty. And this little fast, easy, I just wanted to do a one-off cute little fast thing onto the side. Turned out so great. The dark wax seeping into the pieces of the wood grain just really made it for me. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's definitely not my favorite. I think the main event's my favorite. The big square wooden piece there is probably my favorite. But the way this one came together is my favorite. How the ease of it and how it just kind of everything fell into place. I didn't have any problems with it. And then that dark wax going into the wood grain just made me even happier. I think she's so pretty. So tell me what you think. What do you think? Do you like this? I like it. Do you like all of them? Because I do. And again, this IOD release was very, 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 very pretty. These are the only items I got this year from that release. I do have one more, the farmhouse one. You will see that next because I'm doing a big old patriotic thing. It's going to be classic farmhouse. So buckle up, Buttercup, because we're going to do some farmhouse. Whether it's in style or not, I don't care because I like it. But these guys are pretty too. You could say this is farmhouse. This is just whatever makes you happy. Let's put it that way. You can also see right there on that book top edge, if you kind of rewind just a little bit, you can see more of the dark wax on the top edge there and how I did some more distressing. And it looks a little bit different in the studio lights here while I'm taking these pictures in this video. And also this little guy here, I like how that the distressing along the edge with that archival ink is going to cover up a lot of those oopsies. If you were to make anything with a stamp, you can get it to, you can hide it, don't worry. Now I have a coffee page, so if you like my videos, you feel you've learned something and you want to send some support my way, you can do so here. There's a link in the description, as well as my DIYs are for sale there, so all donations are taken that way, or you can actually purchase one of my DIYs. Never required, always appreciated. And with all that said, guys, that's it for today. Thank you so much for being with me. You guys are my fuel. I love you more than I could possibly say in words. And many hugs, happy crafting, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye for now.